Okay, so welcome everyone to our first interview with a bot author. I am very pleased to say that we have Sharknice, the author of Sharkbot and more, here with us today. Welcome.
Thanks. Glad to be on.
Yeah, so um, it, I'm glad you're here, and I know this is something that people have requested for a while to get more insights from someone who has gone through the process of programming a bot. And so we'll just start with a little introduction, say who you are, little questions like how did you get into programming, for example?
Sure. So I'm Sharknice. I'm the author of Sharkbot, and then also Mecha Shark, Sharkling, Whale Mean, and then I have microbots for each race too: Sharkles, Quarkling, and Memshark. And I'm from Minnesota in the United States, and I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, but now I live in the outer suburbs of Minneapolis, and I'm married with 2 kids. So I've been into competitive gaming basically since I was like a teenager, and I got into bot making because like after I had a kid, can't really like dedicate time to like an hour-long match of whatever because you just got to be
Yeah.
ready for dealing with your kid. And but with programming, you can just kind of stop whenever you need to, and so it worked perfectly. Um, and that's kind of how I got into bot making. Um,
Okay.
So yeah, I've always
Um,
wanted to do like a bot making type thing. I actually like searched for it like I don't know, like 10 years ago. I was searching for like AI competition type stuff because I was just into that. But all of a sudden, I found Starcraft and joined the community, and I was excited.
yeah, that sounds great that you were able to find the StarCraft bot community. Uh, what year do you recall did you get into the community? Because you've been around for quite a while, so you've probably seen a lot of the sort of early beginnings of a lot of bots and sort of the competition in
Yeah,
general.
I joined in 2019. Um, so it was like that's when my first kid was born, and then that's when I somehow I found out about it at the same time, which was perfect timing, I guess, for me. And back then, it was before the SC. The current ladder that we have now didn't exist yet. It was a different one. I think we actually had 2 ladders going, but I only knew about one. That's why we have like 2 discords. So I joined that ladder right away, and then it was
Okay,
like
cool.
less than a year later when we got the combined stuff.
Okay, yeah, it's I did watch Crip's video of the sort of history of FC2AI, which I recommend everyone watch if you're like me, who is sort of newer in the scene, so you might have missed a lot of the early development and just how the bot games were initially played and queued up, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, yes, so when it comes to programming, like, what was your first programming project, for example, before StarCraft?
So when I was in high school, I started making websites. Like I think it was like my first year of high school. We had like a basic website thing where you could learn how to make a website, and so I did that, and I really got into that, and that's like kind of programming. It's I don't know. Some people don't call making like HTML and stuff like that programming, but I did do some JavaScript, so I guess it was kind of programming. So I got into it way back then. That was like 2000, the year 2000. And then I also was really into like making mods and stuff like that. Like Half-Life was out then, and they had, if you're familiar with like Counter-Strike, that was just like a mod for Half-Life, the community made mod. And there were some other mods like that. And I actually helped with bots in those games, like with the pathing of the bots. Like you had to manually create like pathing and stuff like that. So I helped with that, some of that stuff. And then I was also into like messing around with the StarCraft one editor, the StarCraft Brood War editor. Made some custom games with that and
Okay.
stuff. So that's kind of how I got into programming. Um, and then like in high school, I just knew I wanted to be in like basically knew I wanted to do programming, and I kind of wanted to make games. Um, So I went to college for computer science, and then I kind of was all the like game jobs are kind of in California, and I think like there's
Yeah.
some stats where it's like 90% of them are in California or something. But I kind of
Uh-huh.
wanted to stay in the same area I was, so I kind of was like, maybe I'll just do like I don't know, business programming or something like that. But I still did like modding and stuff while I was in college. Like I worked on um, a Napoleon mod for Unreal Tournament 2003 and 2004, where we made like a Napoleon battle type thing, and I also made like maps for some other like there was like a Counter Strike type mod for Unreal Tournament, and I made like a map that was pretty popular for that and stuff like that. And we actually won like a unmake something unreal like physics award for one of my maps where I like programmed
Really? Wow.
apples that had physics in them, which is not impressive by today's standards, but it's like not a lot of stuff had physics in games back then. That was cool. That's kind of what that was kind of like the newer thing. But so I was into programming in games way back in high school and college, and then I actually ended up getting a game programming job right out of college because there was one locally, and we were making like
Oh, nice.
casual games and kind of educational games. Like probably the most popular one was probably Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, if you've heard of that. Um,
I can't say I'm familiar with
it's
that,
like a
but
pretty common like typing type, like learning to type, and it has like games and stuff that schools use. And then
oh,
also,
okay, nice.
Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? We made like the first version of that
Really, huh?
show was new back then.
Yeah. What platform was that
It was on
initially
PC.
released on?
I
Oh,
think it
okay,
was actually
cool.
on Mac too. Like this is like Mac before it was Mac OS. It was older than that, I think.
Yeah, I do remember those. I think seeing those in the store when I was younger for sure.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, these were games that were like actually in the store. Like you could go to Target or whatever, and I like bought a copy of one of the games. Or actually, my boss gave me a copy of everybody a copy of some of the games that were in Target, just to have because it's kind of cool. But
yeah, definitely.
yeah, then I actually made some Xbox 360 games. Like they had a indie game marketplace on Xbox 360 way back, and I made a bunch of games and sold those. I also made like an RTS game called Ponage of Empires, which is kind of like a play off Age of Empires.
Okay.
And it's similar to like it's pretty it was like 2D. It's similar to StarCraft kind of, not quite as
Yeah.
advanced. But yeah, I did that, and then that company like closed down during the 2008 like financial crisis or whatever, and I got into regular business type programming since then. But that's kind of how I got into like C# and stuff, and that's what I'm making Sharkbot and everything in now.
Wow, that's like you've got a lot of experience then when it comes to video game programming, both out of passion and profession. So that's
Yep.
yeah, that's great to learn. Um, so when it comes to you learning C sharp, was it just more and deciding to not just program Sharkbot, right? But you
Mhm.
developed a Sharky framework that is open, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's open source, and I mean, I've done most of the code for it, but other people have contributed to it too. Like somebody worked on all the a bunch of the code for like finding nearby units and stuff, and improved performance by quite a bit. And somebody worked on a bunch of the Zerg type code because I didn't really do much with the Zerg bot.
So Sharky framework is it is a framework that's open that anyone can build a bot off of, right? Is there anything unique in Sharky? Because there is a few frameworks out there. Like, what's a cool feature of Sharky? Something that you're proud of?
So it's basically it has everything you need, like the Sharky framework has everything you need to just like build a bot for any race. And really all you need to do is just like modify one of the example bots or something like that. So it's very easy to use. And then like most of the other frameworks are Python, like at least the more complete framework. So with C Sharp, I mean, you have generally better performance than Python, which is nice. And then also with the Sharky framework, you can basically it's made so that you can replace anything you want with your own code. So like if you wanted to make your own build system, you could easily replace that. And somebody actually did that for a Zerg bot. They replaced just the build system, and then if you want to like replace any of the micro of any of the units, that's very easy to do. So it's just very like modular, and you can just use the parts you want if you want to. So that's kind of the nice part about it.
Okay, that's yeah, that is very very cool that someone can just pick that up and sort of change what they want to.
Mm-hmm.
I have looked at a few of the frameworks just out of curiosity and seeing what would be a good one. But and some of them it honestly did look fairly difficult to maybe change things like in depth. But no, it's cool to hear that about Sharky. And if you guys who are listening to this want to check out Sharky Framework, I'll try and remember to include a link, or you can just check it out. I believe it's linked on aiarena.net, and there's a nice list of features there. So when it comes to, was it like a chicken and egg situation with Sharky and Sharkbot, or did you start programming Sharkbot and then decide to make the framework, or?
Well, somebody, I can't remember who it was. Somebody, like there was already the Sharpie framework, and then somebody said something about when they saw my bot was in C Sharp. They said, "Oh, maybe there should be a Sharky framework." And
Yeah.
I already made Sharkbot, but I kind of had, I actually did have like a code separated out to have like its own framework. So I was like, yeah, that's actually, I'll actually go with that name. That sounds like a good name to me. So that's kind of when I started doing it. Um, so I guess the plan wasn't really the whole time to make a framework, but I had it. I did plan on doing like different bots, so I kind of had code separated out and ready to go.
Okay, that's very, yeah, very awesome. Um, as far as, so having a framework probably helps you keep things organized when it comes to working on your bot, but you're someone who's had a lot of experience working on different projects. When it comes to just like working on a programming project like a Starcraft bot, is there some sort of technique or process you have? Just say starting it.
Well, starting out, you kind of, I mean, you have to have your plan of everything you want it to be able to do. So like when I was making the Sharky framework, like I did actually look at a bunch of different code. Like I looked at the Sharpie framework, kind of how they did it, and then I looked at like Tier has his code open source, and his is actually C Sharp. So I actually looked at how he did it, and even used like some of his stuff for like connecting to the actual API and all that. His bot was actually like the when I was like looking at which language to use and all that, I saw Tier was using C Sharp, and his bot was actually one of the top bots when I started.
Yeah.
I think he even like won a pro bot recently and stuff like that. So it was like, wow, that's like awesome. I can get started with that. So that was kind of the inspiration for using C Sharp, at least, because the other option was basically, I think there was either Python, or I could look at the Micro Machine C++ code, but I didn't. I mean, I use C++ when I made games, but it's just like I don't really like using C++. It's a harder language to use. It's just like kind of older and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah. And then I guess for organizing, like the way that I organize Sharpie is I just have a lot of different folders with everything like separated out by like builds and tasks and micro and stuff like that. And then inside of those folders, I have even more folders. So for like builds, you'd have like cheese builds, macro builds, and then I'll even have like 2 gate openings and stuff like under that. And then I'll have my actual like code files. So I just try to keep things in separate files and stuff like that. It's kind of a pretty common thing with programming is like you want to keep you just want to make like a bunch of different files and have it separated with that with like really good naming and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but for me, if I've ever worked on a project and I try coming back to it, say maybe after a break or a long period of time, you forget things, right? So is there any
Hmm.
challenges or even things that have maybe made you chuckle when it comes to working on a project for so long, things that you've maybe encountered dealing with an older project that, well, I mean, Sharkbot's 6 years old now, right? So,
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, since I did most of the code um, for Sharkbot, I don't know, maybe I have good memory or something, but I usually remember where things are. And as long as you like name things really well, it's easy to search for it in the code. Um,
yeah.
so for the most part, Sharkbot I don't have, or the Sharky framework, I don't have problems with that. I can usually find it pretty quick. But there are times where it's like, why isn't this over here? And then you look and it's like, oh yeah, I guess it's over here, and you wasted a half hour thinking, looking at this code, and it was never over there.
Okay, but yeah, so that's cool to hear that you've been able to maintain the project so well over the years. Now, as far as Sharkbot in general goes, you of course have multiple bots, not just Sharkbot.
Hmm.
Um, but like how did Sharkbot start out? Like, what was some of the first features you programmed into it? Did you just start out, like, for example, some bots start out being cheese focused and then they build the macro out. Some try and go for macro right out of the gate. Sharkbot's a little bit in between because it's got like some very good cheeses built into it, but then it's also got some of the best late game out of all the bots. So like, what did you start with initially?
Right. So like way back when I started, most of the bots were doing like one base kind of timing attack builds. So that's also what I did. It was basically like a 3-gate robo type thing where you just like power up with the mortals and stalkers and go attack. So that's kind of how I started out, and then um, I'd say like I don't know, a few months after that, like a lot of bots had like different builds. Like Micro Machine has his, I don't know, like 5 different openings, but it mostly just like plays the same after the opening, and then like Sharpened Edge had a builds like that too. So probably like a few months after that or whatever, I started adding different builds, and I would add like a proxy robo, um, like where it ferries it builds it was actually a double proxy robo where it builds the immortal and the warp prism, and then puts it in the cliff over the drops it in the cliff over the kind of where the third normally would be and stuff like that. um I started adding different builds like that. And then also like, oh, I don't know how long ago this was. Scarlet made a bot, a 4-gate
Yeah.
bot, and she added speed mining to it. She was like the first one to do speed mining. People kind of knew about it, but she actually did it and made the 4-gate like way better. And Sharkbot was the first bot to add that after hers.
Okay.
I just like, as soon as I saw that and how successful it was, I added it to my bot, and like now like my 3-gate robo thing was actually like beating Micro Machine sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that put Sharkbot like way higher on the ladder. It was like one of the top for a while before everybody else started adding speed mining.
Mm-hmm. And now speed mining is something that I guess is somewhat controversial, right? Because it is
Hmm.
something that, like, it's one of the coolest things that you can say, look what a bot can do that a human can't do. Do you have any, like, opinions on that as far as, like, competition and that kind of thing? Because it is arguably an entry to barrier as far as new
Hmm.
programmers go in the bot scene. But like, what's your take on that? Is that something that we should just live with and embrace because it is cool, or do you maybe have a tip for new authors who are looking to implement something like that, speed mining into their bots?
My philosophy with the bots has always been like, I don't want them to play like humans. I want them to do cool things humans can't do. So I've always been for it. It does basically, like, you can't have like a top bot without speed mining. Like you in theory could, but it's so much harder. Like you just have to be like human level. You're not going to make a bot with human level thinking unless you're, Google.
Yeah.
So it's basically people are kind of forced to do it, which, I mean, I guess that's just how it is. Unless you want to, I mean, I'm sure a bunch of the lower bots don't use it, and you can be competitive in that area. But if you want to have like a top bot, you got to do basically everything that all the other top bots are doing. So that's just kind of how it is. But I'm like for that kind of stuff. Like if it's a bot specific thing, as long as it doesn't like completely break the balance of the game, which, I mean, maybe speed mining makes a certain bot, like maybe it's better for Zerg or maybe it's better for Protoss. I don't think, like, because like I think some people have argued it's better for Zerg because they can just like get extra bases up faster and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think the level the bots are at that's not really like it's not like a game breaking thing. There's so many things that bots can improve that, like, I mean, we have -0 at the top of the ladder, so I would say it's not a game breaking balance thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. As far as just there's always wiggle room to improve your bots, right? It doesn't matter the race or anything like that. Because it's always just it's like the same thing with pro players, right? Oh, just play better, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And maybe you can overcome the balance. Like, there's been cases in the pro scene, that kind of thing, whereas there's one player who's really good from a race, but they're able to, and then they're just in like a sea of all the other races on an island by themselves.
Yep.
But yeah, so as far as developing bots go, your other projects, how was the experience of programming Sharkbot first and then branching out to create like a Terran and a Zerg bot? How was that?
So it was, I mean, it was pretty easy to do because I made the Sharky framework. I actually had like example bots for every race on there after I released it. But there is some like, so like the first one I did was Mecha Shark, because I was actually like a Terran player when I did play Starcraft. So that was like really easy to add because Terran and Protoss, I mean, they have like a lot of similarities. So I just like made Mecha Shark very easily, and that was actually like fairly high on the ranking when it was new. I mean, it wasn't like the top Terran bot, but it was, like a top 5 Terran bot or whatever.
Yeah.
And I could actually do like macro games, and like it does do like late game and stuff like that. The Zerg was more difficult because Zerg just plays different. Like you have your larva, and just the way that you like macro and stuff is different. And I wasn't a Zerg player ever, so except in maybe like the beta of Starcraft 2. So that was different, and I just basically had cheeses for Sharkling, but somebody else used Sharky to make a Zerg bot, and we actually teamed up and we both kind of made one together for a little while called Dadbot, because the other guy was a dad too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess us being dads, we didn't have that much time to work on it, so we eventually dropped it, and it didn't get that advanced. But he added like a lot of Zerg specific stuff. Like he added like creep spreading and the Overlord like high ground spots where it can't see them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it actually like I mean, I added some of that stuff to change to Sharkling too, but it's not a macro bot in any way. Like I'd say Mecha Shark and Sharkbot are a lot more advanced than my Sharkling bot, but
okay. It's yeah, no, that's cool to hear the insight. I definitely do agree that Zerg is an outlier compared to Terran and Protoss, as far as just overall gameplay and design. So moving on, when it comes to like Sharkbot on the ladder, again, it seems like it does very well in the late game. As the strategies though that it picks, do you base those off like win results, or is it more just like a preference on cool things to make Sharkbot do?
So I have like a lot of builds that Sharkbot can do. Like it has, like 50 builds or whatever, but um, a lot of them are so old and like just kind of not very good. Or I probably have like 10 that are good. And I guess like usually on the ladder, I'll just use like a variety of cheese and macro. Um, if I'm actually working on, if like I'm actually working on a specific build, I will make that build the only build it uses sometimes. Or if it's like close to the like Probot's qualification or something, I might use builds that are more successful instead of the ones that I'm actually working on.
Okay.
And then also I've like some builds that I just kind of save for tournaments, like more of the cheesy like cannon rush type builds and stuff where you have to kind of find the balance of testing them on ladder to make sure they're better, but also hiding them so people don't build counters to them.
Yeah, how do you go about that? Do you do lots of local testing, or do you just kind of just leave it on the ladder for a short period of time if you're trying to hide builds?
Well, since I have my own bot for every race, I can do a lot of local testing. So I usually make the build out as best I can with just local testing, and then I will test it out on the ladder, like maybe just have it run on the ladder for a little while. But a lot of times I'll just request a bunch of matches and then see how they go, and then I might take it off the ladder and switch to a different build or something like that. Um,
Okay.
so like people, if I'm testing it on the ladder, people can see it, especially when you request games. That always looks suspicious if you're paying attention. So people will often watch those games and like, oh, you're gonna do a cannon rush for the probots, huh? And
Yeah.
then they can try to build, whatever counters against it. But if my bot isn't using it, um, it's obviously harder to do that unless they have their own cannon rush bot they can test against or whatever weird cheese I'm using.
Yeah. It is a lot of work, right, to come up with counters for specific builds when programming, would you say? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you play the game more and you know how you're supposed to counter like a cannon rush, it's so
Mhm.
much easier. But there's always like little quirks and stuff like, oh, I'm trying to transfer this drone to my third, but oh, there's a cannon in the path and it just, you keep losing your drone or whatever, or you just can't get your third up. And so it is difficult. I would say the amount of it really depends on like the build or whatever. Some builds are like you put way more effort into the build than you do the counter, and some of them are you have to put way more effort into the counter than the actual build. Just kind of depends what it is.
Okay. Um, so as far as working on the Sharkbot, I did want to touch upon Sharkbot's a bit of a chatterbox, right? And
hmm
what's the story behind it being a chatbot that has ventured into gaming and now StarCraft 2?
So back when I played, back like a long time ago, in StarCraft Brood War, before StarCraft 2 was out, they had like just on Battle.net they had like rooms and you could like create your own like chat room type thing in there. So people would always have like bots that were just like mod bots where you could basically just type like slash a command like and then it would do something because it would be like the first person in that chat room, so it would be the moderator or whatever.
Yeah.
So people did that. So I like had a bot called Sharkbot in there because I'd go by Sharknice for my name. So I was just like, oh, I'll do Sharkbot, and it did that basic stuff. And then people started adding cool stuff like they add like trivia, like have the bot do trivia and stuff like that. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's pretty cool. I'll add some of that stuff. And then like chatbots were kind of a thing way back then. They were really primitive compared to like ChatGPT or whatever. Um, but I was like, oh, that's cool. So I kind of got into developing like a chatbot type thing, and then added that to BattleNet, and then actually like once things like Discord and stuff came on, actually this was pre-Discord. There were like other chat rooms. I started getting into just like making it as human like as possible.
Yeah.
So I would hang out in like there's a site called like Plug DJ where you basically take turns playing music, and it was just like a
Okay.
chat room where you play music. So I had Sharkbot in there, and people thought it was just another person, the way that it talked and stuff. So I always
Yeah.
thought that was really fun. Like I made like a really advanced like C# type chat system where it would take like millions of conversations, and then it would like compare the text somebody typed to that database, and it would compare it with the context of the conversation and all that type stuff, and like
Wow.
look at nouns and verbs and parse that out, and then like replace the type of stuff. So it's like a pretty advanced chat. Now with like the newest like ChatGPT and stuff, those are way more advanced. But for the time, it was like very advanced. And that's kind of where a lot of the chat stuff comes in, as I have some of that code in. Like a lot of the code is way too heavy to put like inside running on the ladder,
Yeah.
but it has some of the basic stuff that is very light and fast still in there.
Okay, cool. That's really interesting. Um, and that sounds like a cool chatbot that you started with. Um, as far as build selection for Sharkbot goes, is that sort of, it does say that there is a machine learning element to Sharkbot?
There is. So sometimes I will have that on. I mean, I kind of plan, like if I don't plan on working in it for a while, I'll probably turn that on. Like right now, it's just using more of a basic build selection where it just uses like, if it wins, it uses the same build. Otherwise, it has like a list of builds that it'll go through trying. The It'll just go through trying a different one until it finds a winning build.
Yeah.
But it does have like I use something called ML.net, which is like Microsoft's C# version of machine learning. So it does have a build selection module that I use sometimes for that, and other people, it's open source, so other people can use. But basically, it takes like all the data from past games. Like every time it plays a game, it'll record like every minute of gameplay. It'll dump out like all the units that each bot has, and like all their buildings, and like all the strategies that have been used and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it kind of like logs each minute, or maybe it's 30 seconds. I can like tweak it, I guess. But it'll log that for every single game, and then it'll basically use machine learning to compare that to the last game it played
Yeah.
against whatever opponent, and then kind of find the best matches and of where it actually won. Or sometimes it'll even compare that to like other bots. It doesn't necessarily have to compare the data from the same bot, but it compares it to the last game against that bot, and then it'll find like what's the best, the closest match where we have like the best winning percentage, and it'll choose that. So that's kind of the machine learning part of it.
Wow.
And then there is another thing I posted on my YouTube channel where I'm using reinforcement learning for micro, to like use on the micro ladder.
Yeah.
And that it just uses reinforcement learning with a library called RL Matrix, which is like an open source C# machine learning thing. And I have like a proof of concept bot on GitHub that people can clone and use. And it'll like micro stalker, and you can watch it learn, and then like it'll start out just kind of losing and being dumb, and then it'll eventually, if you just leave it run long enough, it'll get smarter and win every time. But I haven't implemented that in my own microbots, but I do like, I don't know, it's very difficult to get it to work with like, it's very easy to use with like one stalker versus one roach or something. But
Yeah.
if you want to do like every matchup in that like micro thing, there's a lot of different matchups. And I did actually train a bot to do that, and it does beat the like AI, but it wasn't anywhere near as good as like Sharkles. So I
Yeah.
didn't end up putting a bot on the ladder with it, but it might be a thing that I do someday.
Yeah, so it would just need more refinement if you were to try and use that method.
Yeah, it'd
to
need a lot
improve the
more
micro.
training. Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, there is a micro ladder on AIarena.net, and it's just all about micro between the three races, and Sharkles is Sharknice's bot that performs quite well on there, so check that out as well. And so just talking about like the general scene, there's programmers from all over, from all kinds of different backgrounds. Are there any sort of bots or even just implementations or methods you've seen from other bot authors that you found impressive?
I mean, like a lot of the stuff Micro Machine, like all the little micro things that it did, especially when I was starting out, was very impressive, and I liked that. And then also like when I first started out, a lot of the different like cheese things that Tier did, I really liked. Like I think he had one where there was a map where they had like minerals in the back,
Yeah.
like a second ramp, and he had his bot do like a warp prism. Like he mined out the minerals so he could get to the side, and then had his bot do like the warp prism thing over the minerals, and I thought that was really impressive. And he actually said that like, oh, that actually just happened like accidentally. I didn't didn't mean to do that. I don't know if that's actually true or not. Maybe it was some. I think he did a similar thing where he did uh, the elevator thing too, and maybe it was like a combination of that. But those things I found really impressive, and um, yeah, for like actual code, I guess I don't look that much at the other bots' code, but um, like yeah, the actual results of a lot of the bots is very impressive.
Yeah. So okay, that's cool to hear. I again, as someone who is newer to the scene, I didn't know about those maps that and Tier's warp prism shenanigans. But yeah, so Sharkbot also uses warp prisms and things like that. But is there any
Mhm.
like cool features of Sharkbot that you're just proud of, for example?
Um, Probably the death ball micro. There's like just a lot that goes into that, and not really. I don't think there's really any other bots that really use like a Protoss death ball type thing. Um, so there's like specific programming for like observers and oracles so that they kind of stay around the perimeter of the death ball, and they
Yeah.
will like especially against infestors, they'll try to tag them with the revelation or stay in range with the observer, but you have to be very careful not to get those units sniped. So there's like a lot of stuff that goes in that. And
Yeah.
then there's a lot in there with warp prisms just specific to the death ball. Like I'll get a warp prism with High Templar in it, and there's code in there for like, you want to get your exact range so that you can get your feedback off like at max distance, so you don't get your
Yeah.
Templar and stuff sniped or get fungled. And then also like there's exact distance you want to be to cast like a storm, and like it's also calculating like the best spot to place the storm, so it's get close enough so that you can put your storm in the perfect spot, and then it will it'll drop your Templar and then cast and then instantly pick it up in
Yeah, I've
the shortest
definitely
amount of
seen
time
that.
possible. Yeah, like you usually don't even see the High Templar, you just hear a feedback and it's like, huh, where was that?
Yeah,
um
it definitely makes good use of the prisms. Is there like much of like a limit you have to respect to the prism, like as far as like throughput goes on trying to do those actions, or?
yeah, you can only drop a unit every second, or
Oh,
you
okay.
can only yeah, you can only drop a unit every second. You can pick them up pretty much instantly, but there is a hidden cooldown where you can only drop a unit once a second. It doesn't show you the cooldown, but
Yeah.
there is one there. That's kind of true for all things. Like when you unload like an overlord and stuff too, they only come out like once every second or something. It's around
Yeah.
1 second. um
Okay.
yeah, then I also have other death ball micro, like the colossuses will, or colossi, I don't know how it's supposed to be
I
said.
don't know that one either.
Like when they do their swipe, it's a perpendicular line basically,
Yeah.
and they will try to calculate where to attack to maximize that. And they not
Wow.
only do that, they'll calculate where to position themselves for their next attack to get the maximum
Huh.
like DPS swipe.
That,
So there's that. That was like, that's kind of like the more advanced micro than just calculating the center mass for a storm or something.
Yeah, I'll definitely look out for that next time I cast a Sharkbot late game, because yeah, that's not the kind of thing that you'd easily pick up on, or at least I haven't seen it, but there's lots of little nuances that you can program in. Like for something like that Colossi micro, is that something that just took a lot of trial and error, or did you sit down and say do out the math of trying to figure out the targeting, or?
I just kind of figured out the math, and was like, yeah, that's because like I don't know, when I play, like I used to play Terran, and I would always calculate like the exact best spot to do a Hellion shot,
Yeah.
like on the worker line or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So basically, that's kind of how I was like, oh, I'm gonna calculate it out, kind of like that. And it is difficult to like in your mind. It's very easy to figure out, but like to actually calculate it out and figure out the algorithm, sometimes it's difficult. That one was more easy because it's just basic geometry, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, my Mecha Shark does do that for Hellions too. It has like a specific Hellion type rush thing it'll do, and it'll try to position the Hellions for maximum damage. But there's kind of like, even with the Colossus, there's kind of like it will try to do that, but sometimes it's like you can't realistically do that because you can't get to the angle, or if you do get into that perfect position, you're now in range of a bunch of corruptors or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's just blindly doing that. It's kind of like it happens sometimes, but a lot of times it just can't happen because of other things taking priority.
Yeah. Still, that's phenomenal that you've put in that work to get those little advantages. As far as Sharkbot in the current day goes, before we wrap up, I know you said that it's kind of in a more limited mode right now with just one build to get it back on the ladder. How's the experience been with getting like Sharkbot up to date on the new patch, that kind of thing?
So I put that in, and then now it is actually using a bunch of different builds, and I did add like the Oracle overcharge or energy recharge. I guess energy recharge on the Nexus for anything. It's using it right now for like I basically changed one of my like I guess Stargate opening builds where the Oracle will fly to the Nexus and get recharged before it goes out for its harassment. And then I just made it like recharge things like sentries and High Templar if they're nearby and low on energy, or even it'll recharge a shield battery. So I added that kind of I added that stuff from the patch. I think I added one thing changed also with the mothership cloak didn't work, so I fixed that just recently. Like the IDs just kind of change sometimes with patches and updates, which is people commonly complain about that stuff. So it's just a matter of figuring out which ID it changed to and updating the code, which is pretty easy. It's just annoying because you don't notice it sometimes. Like I don't watch like not every game you do get a mothership and it tries to cloak units.
No, that's well, it's exciting to hear that you're working on Sharkbot again, and that it is getting back into form. Since we do have a new season of Probots presumably starting soon, we've got a ladder lock date. Sharkbot's probably a lock in for that.
Yeah, probably.
What's your take on like Probots? Do you just go in it for the fun, or do you tend to like Sharkbot? I believe sometimes does. You do pick out like special builds, right, for those tournaments, or?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to win, but I also like to make my bot more entertaining. So sometimes that's to the detriment of my bot, but I don't know. I feel like it's worth it sometimes just to have the more entertaining games. But
so what's it gonna be this year? Like DTs or Oracle rushes or something like that, or what?
I guess it depends who it's matched up against. But I usually try to have at least if it's like a best of 3 or if it's like a multiple game, if it's not just one game, I try to have at least it play one macro game, just because it's hopefully gets to show off its late game stuff. That's always fun
Yeah.
to see. But then I'll have I usually have like some cheeses planned, like Dark Templars and stuff like that, or a cannon cannon rush or something like that you don't get to see very often from other bots.
Yeah, Sharkbot definitely is a fun one to watch in the tournaments, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think we've pretty much covered everything. I know we could talk about Sharkbot forever, but it's been great getting to learn more about your bot, and I just look forward to casting more of its games. So.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it with the community. So, and yeah, you do a great job casting the games. It's great being able to go every day and see a new cast with bots in it.
Yeah, I'm glad we're able to make that happen with that. There is just enough entertaining bots out there and so much active development to always be updating, because it's always different with the bots and all the work the bot authors are putting in. But thank you so much for joining me, Sharknice, for the first interview with a bot author. It's been great. If you guys have any feedback or anything on these, let me know. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay.